Hey everybody, welcome back to Better World Podcast, the series where we talk about amazing things with amazing people and how we can change our world for the better. Today we have a very special guest, Kate Baya, who I've known for my entire life. She's an amazing musician, professional musician, toured the world, also an extremely talented programmer and just an awesome person in general. How's it going, Kate? Would you like to say a few things to start us off with?
Hi, thanks for the intro. I think that might be the nicest thing anyone's ever said about me. So, cheers. Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for having me on your show.
Oh, dude, it's
I
so,
really, I
yeah.
really like, I really like what you're doing. Like I'm happy to be a part of it.
Oh, it's so good to have you here. Like, you're like honestly the number one, one of the number one supporters at the moment, with all the amazing comments that you leave and everything. Tell us a little bit about like your musical journey. Like, tell us about the projects you've been in, or your kind of what your experiences are.
Yeah, cool. What are my experiences? So, I guess when I was younger, I like played. I'm a drummer, and I played drums for a few people. Started out in church bands and stuff like that, and then ended up um, kind of just like wanting to be a musician, but finishing school and saying like, nah, like they don't really make money, and
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
not much you can do as a musician in New Zealand and whatever.
yeah.
So I kind of took a break from it, and I spent ages like just avoiding it, and then yeah, I remember like I was working in a bar and we were driving to Spookers, I remember, and you were like, "Oh, I'm studying music now and it's really awesome." And I was like, "Oh my God, I want to do that too." So, yeah, I did. I went to Mains and I studied, and from there I just kept getting opportunities to play with
Mm,
different people, and ended up kind of sessioning a bit for people, like
mm,
live sessioning, and um yeah, kind of like played some cool shows. Like I
yeah,
feel like I played a lot of the things that I wanted to play.
yeah,
Um, I was earning money from it, which was cool. It was never enough to like pay the bills and
yeah.
things like that. But I also didn't like the competitive side of it. Or
Mm,
not that not that we're trying to be better than anyone else, but there's only so many people to choose from in New Zealand, and as a musician, you need to make sure that you look pretty good and you're doing your
mm,
part, and
yeah,
and you know how to play your
yeah,
bits and like stuff like that. So
yeah.
I think I did what I could, and without putting too much pressure on myself. And then I just kind of like, I think I realized when I was touring and stuff,
Mm,
I wasn't enjoying it anymore.
mm.
I,
Were
I
there
was
like
sitting in
particular
airports.
things that you weren't enjoying?
Yeah. So like playing is really fun.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not gonna lie, like I love playing music still. I love
Mm.
getting up on stage and performing, but I don't enjoy lugging drums around. I don't enjoy waiting at an airport.
Oh
I don't
God, I hate that.
enjoy the early starts, the late evening, like the late nights. Like,
Yeah.
I want to have like a cup of tea and do a puzzle like before I go to bed. Like, I don't want to be having to talk to some random person at a venue
Mm.
about like the intricacies of like drums or something.
Yeah.
I don't actually care that much. I like doing the thing and
Yeah.
then like
Yeah.
going home. And maybe I feel like maybe I lost the passion there a little
Yeah.
bit, but I think recognizing that it wasn't the path for me was kind of a good thing,
Mm.
because I
Yeah.
enjoyed what I did, and
Yeah.
I'm not like pushing it, and now I can still play when I want to, and
Yeah.
I still do for people when they want me to.
Mm.
But it's not I'm not putting any pressure on myself anymore. I'm just enjoying it.
Yeah. No,
So,
that's great. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It was a journey though, eh? Like, how many years did we study for at Mains? What, 4 years?
I did one extra year than you did, because I did
Oh
the
yeah.
certificate, and then it
Yeah, I
was
think it was
diploma, and then um, 2 other years.
yeah, right. So it was yeah, so you did four, I did three.
Yeah.
And I had no idea. When I went to Mains, I thought I was just going to do maybe 2 years. because that's what I thought. That's what I thought I had to do. And then someone was like, "Oh no, it's another year after that." I was like, "Damn it! I
Dude,
actually didn't sign up for this."
I am still like, you know, you have those moments when you're like thinking about your life, and sometimes like those moments come back to you when it's like 3 a.m. You're like, why the fuck did I choose to do that? I have one of those moments about mains, because I was we had just finished dip, and I was really keen to look for a job, and I had like a one or the other kind of moment, like fork in the road. It was, I could have chosen to do this job and got in like 3 or 4 days a week work teaching, or I could have gone back and done the extra 2 years of the diploma of the degree. And I remember I was standing there looking up at the moon, just like, what the fuck do I do? And then I chose the degree, and honestly, almost every single day of my life, well, not anymore, but like after the degree, for like 2 years, I was like, why the fuck did I make that choice?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it's rough, eh? Because like I definitely am glad I did it, but I could have just gone on to do what I was doing already. Like you say, I mean, like I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the friends that I had there, and I also enjoyed like meeting awesome musicians
yeah.
and getting to play with some really cool people, but um I didn't need it to keep doing what I wanted to do.
Because didn't you
But
get a job? You got a job like pretty quickly out of the music degree, right?
yeah, I did. I ended up getting a job at Songbroker Music Publishing.
Oh, yeah.
Um, yeah, so I was kind of like admin for Songbroker for a while, and that's run by Jan Hellriegel, and she was like just so passionate about what she was doing. I was learning a lot about, I guess, like publishing, like music publishing,
Yeah.
and what the deal was about that. And it just seemed a little like, you look at the publishing deals, you look at what people are offering, and you're like, oh, the musicians aren't getting that much out of a regular publishing deal. Songbroker was a bit different, because it wasn't like a regular publishing deal, but it was very much like, we'll try to get you like syncs, like so that you can get some good money in. But you've still got to work really hard at your thing, and you need to make sure that you're the one putting in the effort. You're not going to get a handout,
Yeah.
whereas other publishing deals, you might get a handout, but you're selling all your rights away pretty
Yeah.
much. So
Yeah.
I don't know, it was kind of like learning more about that. The business side of it was a little bit depressing as well, and this was while I was like touring as a musician, and I was like, man, do I want to be like in this industry?
Yeah.
Because you love music, right? We all love the music side of it, but there's not enough space to make it a career, I think. Or I don't, still looking for answers around it, but it's almost like there's not enough of a demand for it, or there's just too much out there.
It's
Like
another. It sounds
anybody can make something.
like another case of it's a music job, but it's not actually like you're not doing music.
Yeah,
Like,
for sure. Like
how did you?
the publishing thing, I could have sold anything. I didn't need to be like pushing for songs, I could have been like selling socks to people, like
Yeah.
a door-to-door salesman selling like the finest quality like tube socks in the world. But it just
I'm
so
down.
happened to
I'll
be
take some.
music. Honestly, there's more demand for socks, so why not?
Let's just
But yeah.
give up on playing guitar and drums and just manufacture socks.
Yeah, man. I just do what I want to do now, and it's made music so much more of a joy. I'm not hating on a bad show that I play these days, I remember like if I
God,
get played one
tell us
song, I'm kicking myself.
tell us a bad show story.
Oh, like I just feel like nobody would really care, but like for me,
They're
I
funny. I
get off
find them
stage.
funny.
Well, okay. Well, I mean, I played one show this time. And I played, I think I was playing for Robinson, and the show was, oh, our slot was after Benny, and it was for a University of Auckland,
Hmm.
like I don't know what they call them. It was like just like a graduation thing
Yeah.
or something, it was like a party. And I played like the wrong the kick pattern. I was playing Nothing to Regret, which is like was it's like her big song,
Mm.
and I just didn't do what I should have done, and it was literally just kick. I think it was like a one and kick. Like
Yeah.
as a drummer, I go like I can't explain it, but instead of going one and, I played
Yeah.
like one, two,
Oh
and
yeah.
I wanted to die. Like it was so obvious. If you hear the song, you'll be like, that is obviously not what you're meant to be playing there. And I know it sounds stupid, but
You did
I
that for
got
the
off
whole
that.
song.
No, I played it once and then I wanted to die. And I like had to play through the rest of the set being like, I'm an absolute moron. Like,
Oh.
why did I do that? My brain just wasn't there. It was like went somewhere else, and I was just like, I'm thinking about like what I'm gonna eat later, not like about playing this show,
Mm.
and played the wrong thing and hated myself for it. But like not many people would be like, oh, that's a big deal. But for me, at that point in my life, I was putting so much pressure on myself.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know what it's like.
Mm. See, I would consider that like honestly nothing at all. Like we had when we played for the Dixie Chicks, our drummer at the end of we finished a song, we practiced for ages like the end of the song, and then he just plays another 2 bars by himself. And we're like, what are you doing? And then he was just playing, and then he was like, oh shit. And then you could tell he kind of like panicked and then did a fill and then stopped the song. So it wasn't like the worst thing ever, but
Oh my God. Okay, well then my thing's not that bad. Um, I have had situations where I was playing and because we used tracks
yeah.
and in-ears and stuff like that, the track stopped like
Oh no,
in the
that's
middle of a
worst
song.
nightmare, eh?
Yeah, it was really awkward. We were opening for, is it Dean Lewis? Is it? I think his name's Dean
I
Lewis.
think I've heard
Honestly, I
of
didn't
him.
know any of the people we were opening for at the time. But yeah, he was like really popular, and there was so many people. It was jam-packed,
Mm.
and our track stopped, and I didn't know what to do. And the guy, James, he was like our keys player, guitarist,
Mm.
also helped dealt with the tracks. He didn't know what to do. And Anna was just um like on stage, just like, uh, what do I
Oh
do now? And I'm
no.
like,
Yeah, it's tough
man, that
when
is
so much of
just.
it is reliant on the tracks, eh? Dude,
We've also had
oh, you go.
oh yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So I had this situation. We were playing Rhythm and Vines,
Yeah.
main stage,
Big one.
and oh yeah, big one. And Anna's pack died
Oh
when she
yeah.
was on stage, so she couldn't hear anything. And she was like, "No, stop!" And I'm like, "This is so like, no, like, please, can we just pretend like this isn't happening? And
Oh
can you just
god.
like try and sing?" But she couldn't hear anything, so we had to stop the set and start again. And I
That's
wanted to
like
die.
worst nightmare, eh?
Yeah,
Like holy
yeah.
shit. I
But
still
that shit
yeah.
wasn't on me.
We
So
we've
whatever.
never had to do that. I think once I had to stop the song because when I was tuning my bass, I didn't realize that the tuner it was calibrated to like 4 or 5 centigrades off standard tuning.
Oh
So
my
my
God.
bass was in tune on the tuner, but it was actually out of tune by 5 centigrades with the rest of the band, and it sounded fucking dog. So I had to be
That would
like,
be
stop,
really
stop,
bad.
stop, stop. Um, oh yeah, I was also gonna I was gonna say before we had a show. I don't know if you've ever experienced this. We had a show We were like playing, and we were supposed to be like background, but like kind of not, because we're on this big stage and there was like tons of people and stuff. And we finished the song, and nobody in the entire audience clapped. It was like this super
What did you
epic
do?
song. I don't know, man. It was like this super epic song, and like it was a really clear song structure. We finished, and it was sick. And then everyone just looked up like,
Oh my God.
and we're like, it's over. You can clap. You can do literally anything. But they just stared at us, and it was
What,
it
like,
was like you've
was it
never.
so good?
Yeah, yeah. It was so good that they were just stunned silent. And you've never felt a heavier weight of awkwardness before, eh? It was
I'm sure
painful.
I've had that before. I just like don't care anymore. I think that's the key.
Hmm.
That's the key to life, actually. Just don't care. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, nah, music is like it's like fun sometimes. If you make it your job, like
Hmm.
if you love it, go ahead, but I think it can be quite like mentally draining. And we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to like entertain
Hmm.
and to be perfect, and no one is.
Hmm.
So I think sometimes you just need to relax. But yeah, when I make mistakes or when there's like a cringe moment like that, I remember when I was really focused on being the best of, I just like just so upset. I beat myself up for days,
Oh
like
man.
if not weeks.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I think each to their own. Other people, there's lots of successful musicians in New Zealand, and they are amazing.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I'm sure they go through these
Yeah.
situations as well, where they're
Totally.
just like, oh, I'm like shit, or oh, I made a mistake and I hate myself.
I was going to ask, when you were working at Songbroker, what was the, because you mentioned you were touring at the same time, or working with a band. What did you find the sort of time pressures like of trying to manage those two things?
Yeah, like it wasn't too bad because it was like a music publishing company, so
Yeah,
everybody there was quite relaxed about me playing music and
that's
going
nice.
off and doing stuff. But I could also kind of work remotely, not too often, but if something needed doing, I could just do it remotely. It wasn't such a big deal.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, for the most part, it's kind of been like ever since leaving music publishing, it was difficult
Yeah,
trying to find time that I could actually go and play a show, because I feel like as soon as you say no to something, there's someone else there that will take it,
yeah,
and you're likely, I don't know, just on the back burner for a while, you know?
mm.
You got to kind of say
Yeah.
yes to
Every
every
opportunity you
opportunity.
have to, eh? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's hard, yeah, when you're trying to have a stable job and some income as well, it's like pretty tricky. So,
Mm.
and I picked the income over um the touring, I guess, because I've been offered to go on tours, so some really cool tours like
Mm.
overseas, where I'm not going to get paid to play, but
Yeah.
the expenses are paid, and I'm like,
Yeah.
damn, I want to do it, but I just can't
Yeah. That's a
justify it. I
rough one,
can't
eh?
afford it. Yeah, I'm not in that position in my life where I can just drop everything and go on a tour.
Mm.
But yeah, people who can, yeah, go do it, have some fun, like enjoy it. Um, just wasn't really for me.
Would you recommend people to like be musicians and like try and be a professional musician?
No, not at all. I know it sounds really bad to be
Mm.
like, oh, don't be a musician. But I think you can't just be a musician.
Mm.
You need to be everything, especially here in New Zealand.
Yeah.
You need to be a songwriter. You need to be teaching a little bit. You need to be obviously like touring and playing for people, but then you need to be recording for people as well.
Yeah.
You can't just do one thing. And if you're in a band, that's awesome. Try to push
Mm.
your band, whatever, have fun. Um, but I don't think a lot of people are able to do that full time without having to branch out and do some other stuff to keep themselves afloat.
When like have you
And
ever done like the classic kind of 3 hour pub gigs before?
oh, yep, like you mean like covers and
Yeah,
stuff?
yeah.
Um, yeah, I did play in a covers band for a really short time.
Mm.
We had like a residency at Lula. Um,
Oh, that's the
which,
one down in the at the docks, eh?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And it was cool, and the pay actually wasn't too bad. It was a good gig to have for sure. I just hated it. Like, hated playing the covers. It's not something that you do because you love to do it, I think.
Yeah. It's like that.
Well, not for me anyway.
It's like they could choose to either be like teachers or music retail workers, but they've chosen to be covers musicians.
Mm,
Like,
yeah.
do you think that's like sustainable? Like, you
Yeah, I
wouldn't? Would
do.
you
I
want to
think
do that? You wouldn't want to do that like full time, eh?
not me, but there's definitely people who do.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I think
Mm.
like the people who do it, they're great musicians as well. They're
Oh yeah,
so good
yeah.
at what they do. Um, and definitely teaches you to be like versatile,
Mm.
but it's not, yeah, it's not me.
Yeah, yeah, for
It's
sure.
definitely, yeah, I know so many people who just have to take any gig they can get, and the covers gigs, everybody froths them because they
Yeah,
pay well.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but
They definitely do.
yeah, it's hard, eh? I feel like you got to decide, like, are you in it to like make a living off of it, or are you in it because um you like, I guess, love it in a way, but I don't know, maybe you don't have to choose because the only reason why you're in it to make a living off of it is because you love it. So,
Mm.
I don't
Yeah,
know. But for me it drained the joy of it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Same for sure. Like just you it's like kind of like an existential moment where you're like, I think it happened to me at a wedding gig or something. Like you're just kind of playing like some Daft Punk or something, and you're like, yeah, this is sick. And then you kind of look around, you're like, is this really like, have I peaked right here? Like,
Yeah.
playing for these
And
drunk
it's funny,
randoms.
eh? It's funny because you're like, I am peaking because I'm getting paid the most.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, you'll play to like thousands and thousands of people on this awesome stage with this awesome setup, and you'll get paid like half of what you're gonna get paid for doing like a shitty wedding like
yeah. I know.
reception gig.
Yeah, I think
So
when we played Spark Arena, the only thing I got paid was dropping an amp on my foot and breaking my toe. And then I had to walk
what
from
an
yeah,
experience.
we had to walk from Vector up to where there's
Did
like
you walk to Parnell?
yeah, yeah,
Ah, yeah.
and that
Fuck,
was
that's
yeah,
rough.
yeah.
Yeah, nah, the one time I played there, um, I played one song, I think, and I don't know, like it was at an awards, it was at the New Zealand Music Awards,
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
and
yeah,
yeah, I played one song and then sat down and had some food, like got to hang out, um, but it kind of felt like a prize giving, like a school prize
yeah,
giving,
yeah.
just bigger.
Mm.
Um, wasn't as glamorous as I thought it was going to be.
Mm. Hang out with the
But yeah.
celebs, red carpet,
Yeah, the celebs.
because New Zealand has so many celebrities. Eh?
Yeah, I don't feel like there are any in New Zealand, which is kind of cool because like everyone's really humble, but
Mm.
most people are humble anyway.
I really appreciative of that. The discussion. Well, hopefully, people saw it as a discussion. What you said on the church taxes and church tithing video that we released, which was an extremely polarizing video, I will say, where half the people that liked it loved it, and then half the people that watched it wanted to like bash me. So, and I think if that, like, I think that kind of content is pretty engaging because it's like, if you have half a crowd that's like, yo, this is dog shit, and then half a crowd that's like, I agree with this 100%, Like, I don't know, I think that's just like a really good conversation point.
Yeah, totally. I think you don't want to be just preaching to a choir. But
Mm,
I think it's interesting hearing what other people have to say.
mm,
Um, especially considering we've kind of, I feel like you and I have been on both sides of it.
mm,
In terms of like religion and Christianity, and then like kind of just letting that all go and seeing what else is out there and what
mm,
the world has to offer. Um, I think, yeah, I think our perspective is, I don't think it's super unique. I think a lot of people go through it, but
mm,
we still know a lot of people that haven't seen both sides of it. So yeah,
mm.
I can see why you know a lot of people who either love it or hate it. There's no in
Yeah.
between. And yeah, it's really interesting to see um yeah, what different people have to say.
Mm. Yeah, I'll just explain a bit about if anyone's not aware of our situation growing up and stuff. But we grew up in an extremely religious sort of zone where we from age 5 to basically our teens as 16, 17, 18, we went to a church school. We're super private, 100 kids only, and we were basically taught about God 24/7 all the time for our entire lives, and that was like the only way that we could see the world, because it was the only thing we'd ever been taught. So then when we got into our teens and we started to get a little bit like, hold up, some of this shit doesn't make sense, and then the rebellion kind of kicked in, and yeah, it was like we started to think for ourselves, and I think it kind of gave us a really unique perspective on the world and like religion and people that are in religion, and yeah, like I've had some
Yeah.
really interesting conversations with like people that have never believed in God. I find like people that don't believe in any kind of God or anything like that, that they're sort of more like less likely to talk about their beliefs as well. How have you
Yeah.
found, like, have you talked to much people about like our upbringing and stuff like that?
Not a lot of people outside of, I guess, the people that we already kind of knew
Mm.
growing up.
Yeah.
Um, a few though. I mean, I think I've talked, to my partners and things like that, but I like in my life, like I've never kept it a secret from
Mm.
anybody,
Yeah.
but I'm not out here trying to like have deep and meaningful
Mm.
conversations about it all the time. But
Yeah.
because I think like um I don't think it's unique, and I think a lot of the time I'm still even though I don't think it's unique, a lot of the time I'm quite surprised when someone brings it up and I'm like, "Oh
Mm.
my gosh, me too." Like I've been through that same situation. Some of my flatmates had and I didn't
Mm.
know, and then
Mm.
some of the artists that I played for, they were also kind of brought up that way.
Mm.
And everyone who I've spoken to is has kind of had the same experience as me and has moved away
Mm.
from religion. They
Yeah.
haven't stayed in it. And I just find that, especially like in music, I find it really interesting because it's such a difficult space to, I guess, keep like a rigid religion and
Mm.
way of thinking and like worldview, like
Mm.
because you're
Totally.
just getting influenced by so many different people from so many different places, and you're quite you have to be quite vulnerable and open in
Yeah.
your experiences as a musician, and if you're like a songwriter, you're obviously um quite vulnerable with what you're
Mm.
saying. And I think you just kind of have to think outside of yourself
Mm.
a little bit more. I don't know,
Yeah.
it expands you, I think, like
It's
being
yeah.
surrounded by more people like who have
Mm.
had, I guess, who haven't grown up with that
Yeah.
religious background. I
It's
don't know.
really
It's hard
tough.
to explain.
Yeah. It's tough to like what you said, to think outside yourself when you've been brought up to think one way. Right? It's like well, I can't possibly think about this because that's sacrilegious, or I can't think about this because it's against the Bible. And it's like it's just kind of It's like it's hard, but it's also quite liberating at the same time. When
Yeah, it's
it's like,
polarizing,
yeah,
eh?
yeah. It's like I sort of feel bad for doing this, or well, I know I shouldn't feel bad for doing this, but that kind of guilt is still possibly there sometimes. I think maybe for people
Yeah.
that are still on the fence as well. Like for me, I'm completely out. But I would say there'd be people watching that still, like, you know, they were growing up in it, and maybe they've fallen away a bit, don't go to church so much now, but they still have those old ties, like those old guilts and things.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who talk about uh religious guilt, they call
Mm.
it. It's like when you just live your life like a normal human and
Yeah.
then something you do triggers you into thinking that you're a bad person
Mm.
because you've done something or behaved a certain way that religiously wouldn't be okay.
Mm.
Um, but it's so funny because I think most people who have those feelings have grown up religious. They've been
Mm.
kind of,
Yeah.
in my experience, everybody I've talked to, I mean, I'm just speaking about, yeah, just my personal
Yeah.
understanding of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of the people that I've spoken to, they grew up. They didn't have a choice when they were
Yeah.
younger. They were just kind of like lived this religious life and
Mm.
then moved away and felt guilty. Um, and I think part of it is not deciding what you want for your life and
Mm.
not having that opportunity to be like, hey, I don't actually agree with this. Like
Yeah.
you don't know anything else.
Yeah.
You from day one you're going to church, you know.
Yeah.
You don't question things. You don't learn to think about the world around you as much. You just go,
Mm.
oh, this is the rule book and this is how
Yeah.
things have to be and everything's a part of God's plan. So um it's it's got
Oh
nothing to
man.
do with like me or what I do in life. As
Yeah.
long as I'm following the rule book, things will be fine. So I feel like the Christian guilt thing is like when you feel like something goes wrong in your life or things aren't perfect and you
Mm.
think, oh, like maybe it's because I did this thing this time or I didn't feel that comfortable doing this one thing. Maybe I shouldn't be doing that because things aren't going so well for me or
Mm.
um
Yeah.
I don't know, though sometimes those are things that still cross my mind to this day, even
Mm.
though I'm like you, I'm out of it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I just have to go, hey, no, like I kind of decide what I want to do and where I want
Yeah.
to go with my life and
And it takes,
yeah,
yeah,
you just gotta
it takes a really long
you just
time to get to that point, eh? Where you can
yeah.
make those choices for yourself.
Well, you like I said, like I think a lot of people who are brought up that way, they they feel that guilt and I feel like they end up going back
Mm.
to church. Do you know what I mean? Or like go like they go, oh, I've sinned and that's why my life is shit. Oh, I better go back to church, and then they go
Mm.
back to church, and they just repeat the cycle. And I don't think you ever
Yeah.
get out of it. I think
Yeah.
it's super dangerous, in my opinion. You know, I don't hate on anybody who believes in whatever they want to believe in, as long as they're not hurting other people, it's all good. But
Mm.
yeah, wasn't so great for me.
Yeah.
But
You've got a really good viewpoint on it as well, where
thanks.
um, you never like really bought into it, like fully. Whereas
Yeah,
I always tricked myself into thinking that it was real.
yeah. I think there was like I remember or like believing that it was real because I was told it was real. But then, you know, when like there were moments in school and church where like things would happen where people would have like visions
Yeah.
or they'd like they'd fall over and like stuff like that, or they'd get like prophesied over. Whenever that stuff was happening, it never ever happened to me.
Mm.
And when it did happen to me, it still didn't happen to me. I was like, You're clearly pushing me over
Yeah.
here," or I'm clearly just I'm clearly pretending to have a vision here because I'm not actually having a vision. I'm just telling you like random shit and
Yeah.
you're believing me. Like because I wanted to fit in. It wasn't
Exactly.
like
Yeah.
yeah. But I was like, well, why does everybody else see it?
Mm.
You know? And then I
Yeah.
realized, oh fuck, like they don't. They just believe they
Yeah,
do.
that stuff for me was, especially like when it happened to us when we were kids, that I think I was just kind of unknowingly like reading the room and just going along with it instead of actually having a genuine experience.
Almost like a placebo effect thing.
Oh
Eh?
yeah,
Like, oh,
because I mean,
this is happening to
like
everybody else.
when everyone in the room believes one thing, like, you know, it kind of the energies in the room change, and it like it does make it easier to
Yeah.
believe, I guess.
Do you know what I see it as? Kind of like, and this is, feel free to like critique this, but I've always kind of seen it as though big churches are almost like attending like a concert and like having the singer at the front of like, like they tell you what to do and everyone does it. They tell you what to say and everybody will say it.
Yeah.
Same thing goes for a church. It's the energy and it's just everybody being like, yeah, like community and we're all here together and like we're part of a team kind of
Mm.
thing. I think it's that kind of energy that drives everybody to believe and do the same thing. It's like, say you saw your favorite artist and they actually sucked. Like
Yeah.
maybe they didn't like suck badly, but it wasn't a great show.
Yeah.
And then everybody around you was like, "That was amazing." Would you be like, "That was shit"? No, probably not. You're probably gonna be like, "Yeah, it was so cool," you know? Like, I feel like it takes like a strong person to be like, "Actually, it wasn't cool."
Mm.
Like,
It's
and
interesting.
same with church.
It's an interesting point about being feeling like a concert. Because I went to a Meshuggah concert, and I swear I had the same vibe with the people around me at a like a hardcore metal concert that I did being at church listening to church music.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then
for
and
sure,
I
eh?
felt the same thing at a Gojira concert as well, where it's like, you know, there's the shared energy.
Yeah.
But I do actually recall the first time I had a doubt for church, and I was sitting at home. I would have been like 18 or 19, and Running with Fire was on the TV, and it was one of Tark's messages, and I was just kind of staring at it, and then just this idea just randomly popped into my head that he's the rock star, and it's all about him. He's just a
Yeah.
rock star performing to a crowd. And
Yeah.
it just
100%.
blew my mind. I was like, this
And
guy,
then asking for
yeah,
money.
dude.
Yeah.
Did you like that offering message that I played in that video is like exactly like the ones we used to hear, eh?
Yeah, actually. Sorry, I'm gonna feature my knee in this.
That's all good.
Yeah, man, like it's funny because they're all the same and
Yeah.
they all say the same thing. Um, because that's what it is really. You know what they should do? They should just charge a fee, an entry fee. Then it would
Dude.
be an actual concert.
Yeah. $10 to come
They
in.
should honestly, they should pay the musicians.
I've heard
100%.
that they pay the musicians in the US.
Oh, do they? That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think I read somewhere that there was like some church drama because this bass player wouldn't play because he didn't get paid, or he wanted this certain amount of money, and they just
Good.
didn't have a bass player because he wanted to be paid, which is like that's like taboo to talk about in church music. But it's like,
Yeah.
why
But you know, they
why
still ask
shouldn't
you
he
to
be
get.
paid? It's
Yeah, they
so much work.
oh, so much work. And then they also ask you to pay them for attending the session. So shut up. Um, but also like it's totally this whole rock star mentality of like everyone's here to see me, you
Mm.
know?
Yeah, and
I'm
they can put up so many like, oh no, it's all for God, it's all for God. I'm just a humble servant. It's like, fuck off. You are the rock star. You've got an ego the size of the fucking stage that you're on.
Yeah.
Like, dude.
Yeah, that's why they keep making it bigger and bigger, isn't it? But like, also, get out of here. Stop driving in with your really expensive car and
Mm,
like telling everybody that they need to give money so that you can give it to the poor people. Shut up. We all know where it's going. Like,
yep.
it's not going back to the roads or the infrastructure in the city. It's going into your pocket, and it's not going to the charities. It's going into buying your holiday home. So I don't, that's how I see it anyway,
Yeah.
and I kind of always did.
Yeah. No, it's very fucked up if you think about it too much.
Especially because the people who generally are going to church, a lot of them are the people who need it. They're the ones
Yeah.
who actually need the help, need the money. They need that 10% to feed their kids. And here you are going, give me the 10% so I can go and buy my helicopter or my airplane.
Honestly, one of the reasons I was inspired to talk about that was because I was talking to someone who went to church, and this was when I was still going, and I was like, oh, it's when I was kind of cynical of it. I was like, how much do you give of your paycheck? And they were like, oh, um, they said something ridiculous. It was like 50, and I was like, oh, $50. Oh, okay. And they're like, nah, like 50%. And I was like, are you like serious right now? And
Like, how?
they treated it as if it was normal. So if this one person
Uh,
is giving that much, like how much, like what's the percentage of people that are actually giving that much? Like, and I'm sure the people that
yeah.
are giving that much, they're probably not even that well off.
Yeah, yeah. It's a worry because, like, I think it also ties into this whole if you have faith, you
Mm.
will get back. So don't hold on to the things that you
Yeah.
have because if you give it, you will get. And that's not true, man.
Mm. I hate that.
Like I do agree that if do get what you give, but think about what you're giving, you know?
Mm.
You're giving to like an organization and
Mm.
you don't know where it's going. It's not like the money's gonna fall from the sky back into your hands. Like, give it to someone who needs it, or like give it like set yourself up so that your children can have something in the future, or
Yeah.
like I heard this thing the other day. I think I was watching a YouTube video. I can't remember what it was, but it was this thing of how you should plant a seed for the tree that you're never gonna sit under, so that
Mm.
other people can enjoy the shade like in the future. Um, and I think that's really beautiful. Do what you can so that other people can have something. And I think that's what we should be giving. We shouldn't be giving 10% to an organization so that or 50%, oh my God.
Mm.
Um, so that we can like feel confident in ourselves or something. I don't know. See, for me, I think that it's this way of like relieving like pressure from yourself or like um stress because you're going, I have faith and I've given what I need to give and now it's in God's hands and I have faith that everything's going to work out. Um, so it's probably like a way to just like relieve yourself of some kind of stress and pressure.
Mm.
But the best way to do that is to just care about each other and like work for our communities, you know? I don't
Mm.
know.
Yeah, I have problems with the whole idea of faith, like just believing that good shit is going to happen. Like
Yeah,
you're just fooling yourself into believing just such crazy things. Like
I know.
I'll try and explain. I'll try and explain my mindset. Because you remember when I went back to church in like 2017, 2018.
Yeah.
And
Everyone thought you were crazy, by the way.
I
Like, because we were all at music school and everybody's like, Jesse's crazy.
no,
Going back to
I
church.
wasn't at mains then.
Oh, was it the other time? I remember you went back when we were still. Oh,
Really,
was it just after?
it might have been after.
Yeah, right.
Um, and yeah, I was crazy. Because I told myself this story that I heard God's voice in my head, telling me to go back to church. But you know what it actually was just mental fucking illness. And
Yeah.
then so I went back to church and I sold my I made myself believe that it was real. And everyone believed me. And they were like, "Wow, you're like so special. You're anointed. You've got a fire and all this shit." And all it really was me just pretending that it was real.
Yeah.
And when
Well,
the
you could say
veil,
anything.
eh?
You could say anything,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. And when the veil came down on myself, and I started to see the cracks in the organization and how horseshit it all was, that's when I realized, like, I internalized what I did with pretending that it was real, and that's what kind of led me onto this path now where I just know that it's just not it's not real because I made it real in my own brain. And when I stopped believing that, it all just fell to pieces.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it places more responsibility on you when you don't believe it because you're like, I am responsible for the outcome in my life. And
Mm.
there's no there's no one telling me what I need to do or where I should go. Like that voice in my head isn't from like a higher power, it's literally just me.
Yeah.
Like and in some respect I think that it's good to listen to the voice in our head sometimes. Um Sometimes the voice in my head isn't so positive and maybe I shouldn't listen to the voice in my head, but I think we need to like take ownership of our thoughts and stop believing that they're coming from like a random place. Like
Yeah.
we think the way we do because of the experiences that we've had and because
Yeah.
of like I guess like our what's impacted us today or I guess even like chemical imbalances.
Mm.
Like it just it's not some higher power. Like take
Yeah.
responsibility. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I think
Um
I would say because before I went back, I always still had drilled into my brain that God was real, and I'm just backsliding, and I'm being a terrible person because I'm not going to church, like for years. And I guess this was just like the last little attempt from my brain, I guess, to sort it out, because I was like told myself for years, I should go back to church and that'll fix all my problems. Like, I know I have to go back to church. But that was just the years and years of well, it's brainwashing, the Christian religious brainwashing that we dealt with for years.
yeah, absolutely.
That was its last attempt to get me to go, and now that that's broken and faded away, it just all looks so stupid now.
Mm. And you like can take control of what you want to
Mm.
do and who you want to be and where you want to go. Like
Yeah.
there's no rule book now.
Yeah.
Like obviously, there's rules in life that you should follow,
Yeah.
like be kind to people and stuff. But if you read the Bible, there's some crazy shit in there, like and it's gone through so many translations as well. Like it definitely teaches some good stuff.
Mm.
Um, but it also teaches some really outdated, like really negative old school ways of thinking, and it's very like patriarchal and like quite misogynistic.
Mm. Yeah.
I don't agree with it, and I think it's really rude to not let somebody come to that decision.
Mm.
Like if you're brought up in it, you need to be able to have the opportunity to say, yeah, I do believe it, or no, I don't. If you just have it shoved down your throat all the time, you're not going to actually believe in shit. You're not believing in anything. You just got told that something's real. Like,
Mm.
you need to decide. You need to make a decision. So, yeah, I'm glad I made the decision I made. I'm the
Yeah.
happiest I think I've ever been. And I'm like not, I don't feel super guilty about a lot of stuff
Mm.
anymore. And
Yeah.
like, and I can talk openly about it now, whereas before I
Yeah.
was like worried about offending people. Like you said, like the last your last video was quite like polarizing with the whole like Christianity thing. And it's like frustrating that people get so up in arms about it.
Mm. Yeah.
Because like they're pushing their agenda on everybody all the time. But as soon as you say, hey, hold up, I think that this is wrong, it's like, how dare you? You know?
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa, wait a minute.
So, Kate, it's been awesome having you on the show today. You're full of wisdom and amazing things to say. Your opinions are really strong, and yeah, thank you so much for joining me. How did you find the experience?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I hope like I don't ramble too much, you know, like but yeah, it was nice just having a chat. I think you and I have really similar experience, so um yeah, nice to kind of like let it out.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Kate. Thank you for everyone for watching. If you got to the end, good shit. Catch you on the next one. Bye.